The materials in the Earth's crust and its domains, lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere, are referred to as resources. Resources are defined as a country's collective means of support. These means are necessary for supporting life and for economic development. Therefore, the study of resources involves man's relationship with the environment, which is original source of all types of resources. In this chapter, we will study the following concepts: value to resources, characteristics of resources, and types of resources.
Resources: water, electricity, vehicles, crops and textbook have something in common. They have utility as they all are used by us. Utility or usability is what makes an object or substance a resource. Value means worth. Some resources have economic value, some do not. For example, metals may have an economic value, a beautiful landscape may not, but both are important and satisfy human needs.
Natural and human resources. The materials in the Earth's crust and its domains, lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, are referred to as resources. Humans add value to resources. By definition, resources are a collective means of satisfying human wants. They are obtained from our environment either directly or by application of human skills and technology. Human beings, by means of their skills, add value to resources which they need. 4 types of value addition associated with resources are economic, legal, aesthetic, and ethical. When iron ore is changed into usable iron, it commands a price or becomes economically useful. Clean Air Act is an example of legal value attached to air, nature's free gift. Aesthetic value in addition to a resource is a holiday resort. People enjoy the beauty of nature or wilderness only when they have a place to stay, rest, and eat comfortably. Characteristics of resources. Thus, a material can be called a resource if it satisfies the following conditions. It is capable of being transformed into a useful thing. 2. It should exist in sufficient quantity to be exploited for use. 3. It should have certain properties. Factors affecting the use of resources. Skills and technology. The use and value of resources much depends on technology and human skills. Factors affecting the use of resources. Cost. The costs involved in development, extraction, and transportation form the most critical components affecting the use of resources. Transport and communication. Many areas on the earth are inaccessible. Transport and communication play a crucial role in covering the areas. For example, Siberia in Russia has huge resources, but due to the lack of transport and communication, these resources cannot be exploited. It is only recently that human settlements have appeared in some parts of Siberia. Factors affecting the use of resources. Adequate deposits. Resources can be exploited commercially only if adequate deposits occur at a place. For example, iron ore deposits in Chota Nagpur area can be exploited on commercial lines because adequate deposits and other required materials are found in that area. Industrialization. It is the industries which make use of resources as raw materials and turn them into useful products. Poor nations lacking industrialization use primitive methods and obsolete technology as well as worn-out machinery and produce inferior quality resources that are quite expensive. The materials in the Earth's crust and its domains, lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere, are referred to as resources. Resources are defined as a country's collective means of support. These means
are necessary for supporting life and for economic development. Therefore, the study of resources involves man's relationship with the environment, which is original source of all types of resources. In this chapter, we will study the following concepts: value to resources, characteristics of resources, and types of resources based on origin. Based on origin, resources can be classified into natural and human resources. It is human beings who add value to natural resources and make them useful. Natural resources. These are the gifts of nature which are found useful for making the life of human beings comfortable and worth living. Natural resources include natural vegetation, soil, water, air, minerals, and even rocks. These can be of two main types: biotic and abiotic. A. Biotic resources. These are living resources like forests and forest products, agriculture, animals, birds, marine life, etc.
B. Abiotic resources. These are material resources or non-living things. Minerals like iron ore, copper, land resources, soils, etc. are some such examples. Human resources. These are the human beings who are made valuable through education, training, experience, or in other ways, so that they may become capable of making use of other resources efficiently.
Based on renewability. Depending on whether they are replenishable or not, there are two main types of resources: renewable and non-renewable. Renewable resources. These resources can be renewed after use. They do not get exhausted. Renewable resources are water, forests, soils, etc. Some trees may also take longer time to grow. For example, it takes between 50 to 200 years for a tree to grow in a forest. Availability of fresh and pure water in a river may be obtained under certain conditions of environment. Non-renewable resources. These resources get exhausted after use. Resources which cannot be replenished are fossil fuels such as petroleum, gas, coal, and other minerals. Based on utility. Based on their use and utility, resources are classified into energy resources and raw materials. Energy resources: coal, gas, petroleum, water power, and even certain minerals like uranium are used for generation of electricity or as fuels for transport vehicles. Based on utility. Raw materials: mineral, vegetation, agricultural products, animals, etc. form raw materials for production of goods. Even coal, gas, and petroleum, which are used as energy resources, may also be used as raw materials for production of chemicals, fertilizers, etc. Based on ownership. Individual resources. These resources are privately owned by individuals or groups. For example, land owned by an individual, a family, or groups of people organized in companies. Based on ownership. Community-owned resources. Adivasis do not consider private ownership of land, forests, and water bodies. they consider these resources as owned by the community. These type of resources are public land, parks, wealth, playgrounds in panchayat ghars, in urban and rural areas. These resources are accessible to people living in the area and even to outsiders. Based on ownership. National resources. These resources are owned by the government. In the past, all land, water and other natural resources were owned by the government. Even today the government owns such resources of general public use as railways, irrigation, dams and buildings. Based on ownership. International resources. These resources are owned by international institutions like the United Nations or other regional international organizations. Beyond the territorial waters, as stated earlier, oceans are often treated as open. These oceanic resources beyond exclusive economic zones belong to many nations. Development of resources. Potential resources. It is the total quantity of a particular mineral or resource found existing in nature. The survey determines such quantities. Actual resources. These resources are those that have been surveyed and their reserves properly determined for actual use. Reserve. It is that proportion of potential resources which can be exploited and developed economically in stages. Technology makes it possible to convert a resource into a reserve. Reserves are like actual deposits from which withdrawals can be made. The development of these resources proceeds in 3 stages. Survey. It is used in establishing the location of resource. It is followed by exploration. Mining. The method of extraction of mineral resources from under the ground is called mining. Ore. Minerals or their combinations are found in beds or seams, which are called ores. Metals and non-metals are obtained from ores. Sustainable development and the role of the United Nations. The United Nations is today concerned with a large number of global issues on conservation. The Second Earth Summit was held in September 2002 in Johannesburg, in South Africa. Appropriately titled World Summit on Sustainable Development (WSSD), it focused on economic development for regeneration of resources. The United Nations sponsored the first Earth Summit in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Its theme was Environment and Development. The conference turned out to be the largest congregation of world leaders in history. It produced some binding treaties to reduce pollution in order to prevent global warming. It was at the conference that the concept of sustainable development was evolved and given shape.